So these are the materials that you're going to need to build a swing arm for your awning. This is for a 3-meter awning. It can be for a 2.5 meter awning. It can be for a 2-meter awning. It doesn't matter. It can be any size awning of any length. So what we've got here, we've got the channel. The channel has a tolerance of the internal diameter is 52 millimeters. So the channel can freely run in and out, and you can put a little brass washers on the top and on the bottom. Okay, we've got these the index plungers here with the code available. We've got some 5mm flat plates. You'll need several pieces of this flat plate. Depends on the size of your roof rack. The 75 by 50 RHS. It's a heavy wall. It's 5mm wall. These are for the mounting brackets, which I'll show you what to do with. The length of the channel is to be roughly a meter long. I mean, the RHS is to be a meter long. The length of the channel is roughly about 1500 long. Okay, so what we've got here is the bracketing system on the left-hand side rear. Okay, there's a 5mm plate. It's welded to the bottom hoop and the actual top hoop. There's a 5mm plate coming out on the top and the bottom with gussets, 5mm gussets on the top and the bottom to create a bit of rigidity. Okay, the RHS, which is the main beam. This here is a spacer out of the front bush of a Land Cruiser. It's 50mm high, it's 25mm wide, it has a 16mm hole through the center, it's got about a 5mm wall. It's ideal for this. It's nice and solid, it's perfect, it fitted well. And so when you take out your old bushes from your front control arms, keep the actual sleeve that's inside it because you'll need it. The bolt, this is a 16mm bolt, 95 long. Okay, I've got a nylock nut on the bottom, a washer, and using washers as spacers as well. This is the bit of plate that I've used here. This is 60 millimeters, 65 millimeters. So you can see what I've actually done. I've had to taper it down. You taper it down to the size of the collar. This collar here. So this radius is 25 millimeters. The reason you do that is because when you have the awning on here, you don't want it to interfere with the awning. So it needs to be rounded in, all the way in, tapered in off the edges, so down from 65 down to 25. I just cut this with a grinder and then just rounded it with a burnishing tool when it was in place like this, so I could round it all the way around it so there wasn't any hindrance to the actual awning when the awning is in place. Okay, at the other end, at the other end of the RHS here, so the bolt's down the end there, at the other end of the RHS here, this is a collar off a Dynabolt. It's made out of, it's mild steel, it could even be aluminium, but it's got a reasonable size wall on it, about 2mm thick. Okay, I've got a 75mm high tensile bolt through the side. You probably don't need high tensile, you can just buy a bolt from Bunnings at 75 long. A nylock nut on the bottom. I've got brass washers in between the top plate, or the top fin and the bottom fin here. This is just to allow for a bit of movement. It allows it to swivel on the actual washers instead of rubbing on here, and it gives it an extra bit of tolerance. Okay, the fin plates. There's 3 of these fin plates. These holes are 50mm apart. These allow, it's the distance between the channels in the back of your awning that you usually fix to your roof rack or to the L brackets that are supplied with your awnings. This is 50mm here. The reason that I've done this is so we can actually utilise the channel and not drill holes through the actual awning themselves. There's three of these tabs in place. There's one in the middle and one at each end. These are the index plungers where I've supplied the code for them. There's a 3mm plate here. I've tacked it on, drilled holes, tapped the holes for the M6 by 1 countersunk screws under here. These are stainless steel ones, only because I could only find stainless steel in metric. Okay, and that's how these just pull down. Okay, so this is the plunger, how it's fixed into the back of the channel. These are the little tacks that I did on it. Here are the bolts that I've tapped in, the countersunk screws or countersunk bolts, whichever way you want to call them. This is the part of the index plunger here, how it works. So it just moves up and down inside there. Okay, the coating on this is it's 10 millimeters wide, 10 millimeters high. Okay, that's actually on the code when you purchase it in regards to what size. I've used plenty of these. They're durable, they're strong, they're thick enough. They're not gonna snap with wind, or if a branch catches a hold of your awning's going to bend before it actually snaps out this pin here. Okay, the location of these plungers is dictated by the spaces between the top hoop and the bottom hoop of your roof rack. It's not set in stone. There are so many different brands, there's so many variables where they sit. On the rear left, that's where this one sits here. Okay, the index plunger on the left hand side one, it's located on the middle strut. Okay, you'll probably see that this plunger is actually locked in. It's locked into the channel. You drill a hole through the RHS to receive the plunger when it's locked in this position. Alternatively, when it swings around to the rear, you drill a hole in the RHS for this one here. You don't drill the holes until you've located where these plungers will sit relative to these struts. On the back here, you'll see these holes. These are 14mm holes. There's one here and there's another one here. What these are to do is to, when you actually have the awning in place, if you look through the actual hole, you can see the other awning side. There's actually a hole on this side as well. So that bolt hole there is where the nut goes for when the awning pokes, when you mount the awning. Okay. So there's one there. That's the awning holes, and there it is there on that side. So this distance here is governed by the slope of the roof rack. Okay, it's 45 degrees to the corner, roughly. Makes it a little bit easier when you're actually mounting it. So you're having equal distances on the back and on the front, or on the side. Okay, the distance between the two bolts here, this one here, which is the swing arm. So from this point to this point is usually somewhere between 750 and 900. Obviously you're governed by where it sits in relative to this. So it's either going to be here, it's going to be somewhere along here. Okay, it can't be on this side, it won't work. So it needs to be in between the two mounts, somewhere between 750 and 800 or 900. The current way that I have this one set up, this is 750 or 760 from here to here through the centres. And what this allows me to do is this swing arm here, the channel is 1300 long, and what it allows is when the awning's mounted onto this, it actually gives me about a half a metre out this side on the driver's side, and it gives me over a metre putting out this side. This is the way that a couple of our friends, we've organised this so we can, when we do our camp setup, so it sticks out the side here over a metre on the passenger side. You can see how the awning swings. It moves quite freely because of those two little brass washers that I have in place. Okay, and when it locks into place, it just comes in, pull the index plunger down, push it in, and it locks in place. The brackets, what we've got here is a drill hole in here. The drill hole is 10.5 or 11 millimeters wide. Okay, this just allows for a bit of tolerance within the plunger and with paint and everything like that. So paint on the outside of the actual channel here. So this is the bracket. What I've done is I've put a little spacer in here. I've just tacked a spacer on. That just makes this whole channel, it makes it vertical through the plane, because these actually have a slope back on them of about 85 degrees. So by putting that in, it just knocks it up to about 90, makes it nice and level, and it makes the sleeving, because it's a 5mm and the tolerances are so slight, it receives the plunger in there quite easily. Okay, there's two of these. This is the RHS that I cut up, the 75 by 50 heavy walled RHS. It was just easier to cut the RHS up and make these channels this way. It's a lot quicker than actually getting 3 pieces of plate, welding them up, making sure that they're right angles, making sure that this distance here is the 50 millimeters and everything like that. It was just a lot quicker. Takes 10 minutes to whip these up. It was great. Bolt straight through on the top for a pendulum effect. It's got a spring washer on the back and a washer and a nut just to hold it in place. It's not going to move. It's solid. So that's it, guys. It's quite, as you can see, it's quite simple to make. Costings. The channel I got fabricated up through a fabricator that I use in Preston's in New South Wales. $10 for 1.5 meters. The bit of RHS light wall, it was $5. The most expensive part of these plungers, okay, as in the photo that I supplied, it's from a company called D&D Barry Proprietary Limited. They're in Smeaton Grange in New South Wales. I was actually importing these from, the first lot I imported were from Germany, and I had them sent over, but then I found this place down the road 10 k's away from me, and it's the same brand of plunger. So that's the plunger there. Okay, what you need to do, you can see the little collar here. When you're mounting it into that 3mm plate that's underneath, you need to make sure that you drill the hole big enough to take this collar. Okay, it's probably about 12 millimeters, 13 millimeters wide in total in OD. So you just have to do that so you get the flush mounting on the back. So you can see how it's flush mounted into here. So and so this plate here has a 13mm hole in it.